and create inside of GitLab, and we would welcome any questions that you all have about some of the deck content or anything that might not be in the deck, but would be relevant to the dev section. I'd be happy to answer. We have a number of team members on, a lot of product managers, and all of the engineering managers as well. All right, well, we're waiting for a question to roll in. I'm just going to talk through slide 2 to just walk through a few highlights and to get us going a little bit. So just some quick updates on hiring. As I announced yesterday on the company call, I am really excited to announce that James Ramsey, who's led our source code efforts over this past year, will be moving into a group manager position for the Create team. He's going to be controlling the source code, code review, Gitly, and editor groups. And so huge congrats to James on taking that position over. Also, we have filled the group manager for plan position for the product management team via an external candidate that'll start early in next year. I'm very excited for that individual to start. And then we also have a few new team members in UX as well as development. So welcome to GitLab, Nick Brandt. And then there's a ton of dev team members on slide 17, Alex, Pablo, David, Josiane, Jean, Chad, Simon, Roman, and Robert. And so welcome to the team. So the team is coming along nicely, and we've pretty much filled our hiring plan up until this point, and we are excited to tackle the next year's plans. And we expect dev to grow pretty significantly for fiscal year 21. And so we'll be right back in the hiring and growing of the team again early next year, which will be really exciting. From an accomplishments perspective, I highlighted a few things here, but just wanted to bring those to the top of everyone's attention. We've launched an audit events API for groups, which is really helpful for customers who want to get audit events out of an API into their own reporting system or tracking system for compliancy. We've also launched an epic tree view in any sort of issue or epic that you have. You can now see the hierarchy of how epics and issues line up, which is great. We've also released contextual nav for group, subgroup, and project. It can be hard to tell if you're in a group or a project or a sub-project. And so now there's a quick fix to the top left of your nav bar that says whether or not you're in one of those three. We've released code intelligence via source graph, which is the ability to jump to definition for functions. And this is available for public projects on GitLab.com. We've made a change to the default behavior for deleting source branches, which is enabled by default, just in order to better clean up after ourselves. This is a configurable setting, but it's enabled by default. And then one thing that we've, as we talked about in our last group conversation, we've built a static site editor team that's focused on the static site editing experience inside of GitLab, but also the GitLab handbook. And as a first iteration for what that team is going to do, we've built out handbook build time dashboards, which outlines how fast it takes our handbook to build, test, and deploy. And it's around 12 to 13 minutes on average. So check out that Periscope dashboard if you want to see and track the handbook build times as we work to improve those and drive those down. Yeah, so Mark, you've got the first question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what has changed in the maturity levels and the current plan since the last time you presented. I see what the current slides look like on 8, 9, and 10, but I don't know what they looked like a month ago or whatever it was. Has anything up-leveled, become more mature, or been pushed out?
Yeah, that's a great question. The simple answer is no, there's not been any changes and nothing's up leveled in the past 6 weeks.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, thanks for the question. John Woods, I think that's you.
It is, yeah. Gitly HA continues to be one of the top features that enterprise customers are waiting for with bated breath. What's the current status?
Yep. Gitly HA is the only thing that the Gitly team was working on. It's 100% of their cycles every single month. One of the things that the team was working on was getting Prefect, which is the cluster, basically the cluster we set up to essentially wrap around multiple Gitly nodes, set up on GitLab.com, just so we could make sure that it works. There's not anything wrong with that sort of a setup, and then to do a some sort of test failover event. You can follow along in the epic. I've put it in slide 2 in the group conversation. We are about to lock down the planning for 12/7, so I can answer a little bit more intelligently in the next few days once we've locked down the scope for 12/7. But you can follow along with the latest updates in that Gitly HA epic on slide 2 in the far right column.
Thank you. And actually, I have the same question, sort of what's the status for better large file support in Git?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll have to see if I can find an issue for that one. We've released partial clone, which was the first step in better large file support for Git in terms of cloning repositories. I talked about that in the last group conversation. I can send a link here. The second half of it, we've also talked about using our package repository as a Git LFS target to better make that experience a little bit more seamless inside of the application. But I don't have a better answer for you right now. And unfortunately, James, because he's in Australia right now, is not on the call. So I'll have to get back to you on that one with a little bit better answer.
Cool, thank you.
Josh, you've got the next one. I think Keenan's answering, but under the wrong question. So I'm going to move. I'll move it when he's done typing, but you want to voice it?
I'll vocalize though. Yeah, I saw the accomplishment for better contextual navigation between subgroups, groups, and projects. Just curious to learn kind of more about that. As certainly as I frequently am in the wrong, like I'm in GitLab, I want to be in GitLab-org or something like that, and so I'm curious, what that is and what the plans are there.
Sure. Yeah. So, it's actually a really simple change. And I linked the issue you can, that we did the work in. You can actually see some screenshots. But talking to a lot of customers, they just said, the experience is frustrating or confusing just to understand what part of my hierarchy I'm in. And so the change is literally at the top of the left-hand nav, just saying like group overview, subgroup overview, project overview. And I actually had a couple of people at the reInvent booth mention that improvement had helped navigating specifically to projects and understanding where things are. And the main pain point that we're hoping this solves over a longer timeline is users creating issues in the wrong in the place of in their account where they don't mean to, and then having to move them and dealing with the frustration of closing it and then having a new issue open. So we're monitoring feedback now. So right now, we don't have any other major changes around that one, but we're hoping that additional user feedback will help us understand improvements to the left-hand nav in general.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I would have just one more, maybe. Just clicking on I'm just flipping through the dev section highlights, and oh, never mind. It says direction of the roadmap. Sorry. I thought it was an accomplishment for us, SSO improvements, but it's the future direction. So never mind.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, then we can go ahead and end the call. And please let me know if there are questions. I can answer them asynchronously. And John, I'm going to do some work offline and get back to you in particular on your questions. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Eric.
All right. Thank you all.